Let's grab the latest firmware updates for the FTX.
Stick around and we'll get right to it.
Alright, so the first thing we need to do is get the micro SD card formatted. According to the operating manual, you can use anything between 2 gigs and 32 gigs for this project. The slot for the SD card is over here on the side by the big knob. So let's go ahead and get that inserted. By the way, when you insert it, if you're looking at the front of the radio, you're going to insert it with the black side up and the label side will be down. Alright, once you've got that inserted, we do need to format the SD card before we attempt the firmware upgrade. I'm going to long press the function button over here in the top right corner. We're going to go to extension settings right there close to the bottom right, and then we're going to come down to SD card. Press your function button one more time, and let's scroll all the way down to where it says format. Let's go ahead and press the function button one more time, and it's going to ask us, do we definitely want to format the SD card? We're going to say OK, and we'll give it a couple of seconds to format that SD card. It should give you the completed indicator right here. We can just click the back button a few times. Well, nope, I'm sorry. You got to press the function button to get out of that. Now you can press the back button a few times to get back to the main screen. Now, I would recommend downloading the firmware upgrade manual. You can grab that from the Yaesu website. I'll leave links down in the description below to the FTX series so you can know where everything is downloaded from. Make sure you read through these notes up at the top. And one critical note right here is this is going to reset your radio, and you're going to lose any memories or settings that you have made in the radio up to this point. So just a word of caution. Now, it is asking us to confirm the firmware version, and it's giving us instructions on how to do that. So we're just going to go into that extension settings and then come down to soft version, and it will tell you exactly which version of the firmware you're currently running. I have already confirmed the version that I'm running. Next, we need to download the firmware from the Yaesu site. Right here, I am seeing the FTX-1 USA firmware update dated 2025. Go ahead and click on that, and that will download that zip file for you. Once you've got that downloaded, you do need to extract the zip file. Now, I'm on a Mac, so it may look different for you depending on which OS you're running. I'm just going to go ahead and double-click that on a Mac, and that will unzip it, leaving us with a few files right here, and it also gives us the firmware update manual inside this directory. So if you don't want to download it separately, you can do that right in this folder right here. So I now have the SD card that was formatted in the radio open on the right and the firmware on the left. Let's open up FTX, and we want to copy it right here into this FTX directory. Do not copy it into any of these directories here. So I'm just going to take all 3 of those, and let's go ahead and just drop those onto that SD card. Now, one important note here is if your main firmware is version 01.00, then we're going to proceed to step 4. If yours is greater than 01.00, at least as of the time of this recording, you're going to skip to step 11. So mine is 01.00, so I'm going to start with step 4, which is right below it. Alright, and with the radio turned off, we're going to take the SD card and just go ahead and drop that back into the radio. Now we got to do a little bit of a finger dance. We're going to need to hold VM, MV, and QMB all at one time while turning on the radio. So let's see if I can manage to make this happen. And we should come up to a screen that looks like that, talking about inserting the latest version of the firmware on the SD card, putting it into the radio. And the next thing we need to do is rotate the function knob a minimum of 5 times in a clockwise direction. So there we go, we've got that. And the only thing we want to do right here is leave that display checked. Do not leave the main checked here. Now remember, this is if you're running that 01.00 firmware currently. So I'm just going to go ahead and click update and let this thing go through its paces. And when this finishes up, the radio should power off automatically. Alright, so let's go ahead and power the radio back on. We'll go ahead and long press the function button, and then we're going to go into the extension settings. Let's come down to SD card, press one time on the function button, and then we're going to go to firmware update. And this is where I've hit a snag using Yaesu's directions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on firmware update, and you'll see that it's not doing anything. In just a second, that orange outline shows back up around the done button, but it didn't give me any information or any indication that it could update the firmware any further. So we're going to go about this a different way. I don't know that this is correct. I can't recommend it to you guys. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing for the sake of my radio. I'm going to power the radio off. We're going to once again grab those three buttons up top and turn the radio back on, because I know the firmware is loaded on this card. Now that we're in this, we're going to rotate that function dial just like their directions say, and we get back to this screen here. Since I've already done the display, I'm going to uncheck it, and now I'm going to check the main version. Let's go ahead and click update and give this thing a second to run through. After it's run through, we do want to hard reset the radio, and then we can check the firmware version to make sure that both the latest two are installed. And it looks like the radio powered off after that was finished, and it's powering back on by itself. So first thing I want to do is go ahead and do a factory reset on this. So let's go into extension settings, I believe, and let's go down to reset, and let's reset all. We'll tell it OK, and it's going to beep at me and hopefully reboot. And we'll go ahead and check the firmware version and make sure that everything looks like it's supposed to. So let's scroll over so we can get to the right settings again. Let's go to extension settings. And let's come down to software version. And you'll see that now I'm on display 102 and main 104. It looks like that worked. Now I've got to dig in and see if they updated any of the APRS settings.